Hello everybody, welcome to Mistakes Were Made. We are back at the dining room table and we are going to do our cash envelope stuffing for the second pay period of May, so the 16th through the 31st. We're not necessarily going to be spending the money we're stuffing, but we are funding the cash envelopes that we cover during that time period. So what are we working with? We've got a nice little chunk of money here. We've got $100, $200, $300. $50, $400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 20, 40, 60, 80, 600, 20, 40, 640, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 700, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 770, 5, 85, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 800, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So $809. Alrighty. So let's jump right into this. First up is AAA, and it is one that we fund this pay period. It is going to get $13. 2, 3. Okay. So that puts us at 110, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. $117. I would love to say what the date is, but my watch is constantly not working. Goodness gracious. I think it's the 20th. I'm honestly not sure. Oh, goodness. Yeah, it is. I've had this watch definitely over 2 years. I don't know if it's quite 3 years or not, but in recent months, for whatever reason, the face of it, so it looks like that, will just go blank. And it's not a case of it not having any juice and needing to be charged, because when I do go and plug it into the computer so that it can charge up, it's very often has 100% charge, but a lot of other times it's in the 70% range. So it's really frustrating, and it tends to happen at least once a day. And even when I do go and charge it so that the picture shows back up on the face of it, it's not guaranteed that it'll stay. Sometimes I have to do the process multiple times before it'll stick. So very, very frustrating. And it is a known problem. I went and I looked on the website. This watch is done by Garmin, which in the past I had thought was a very good company, but for whatever reason, there have been no fixes. They don't seem to know why it's happening and have offered no, solution. And frankly, as much as I liked the watch and, felt that Garmin was a good company, I see absolutely no reason for me to purchase another one if the expectation is going to be that I'll get about 2 years of worth out of it. If that's going to be the expectation, then I might as well go back to Fitbit, because my Fitbits tended to last 2 years as well. And I believe that they were cheaper. So, I do want to try and find a different watch that, a smartwatch. I don't need, like the Apple Watch kind of things where you can talk and see your texts. This does do that as well. I don't need that stuff, but I do like some of the other aspects of having a watch of this nature. It's just, I find it difficult to justify the cost, especially right now. And, if if I have to be irritated on a daily basis, but still get a little bit of use out of it, then that's just what I'll do in the meantime. So if you do have a smartwatch that is not Apple, I don't have Apple products, so it would be, of little use for me to have that one thing that you can recommend that you really like. Hey, note that down below. I'd be happy to, take a look at it. All right, birthdays is next. I got to get going before I, get off topic too long, and this video ends up being forever. So, oops, let's recalibrate that. There we go. So we are at $110, $15, $16, $17, $18. And I think we decided that is going to be the 20th. I will say I'll make no promises that it actually is the 20th, but that's what we've decided to go with. Okay. Next is car maintenance. Now, if you've followed along, you know that we typically do not fund car maintenance during the second pay period, but it is a recipient of extra funds from the end of the pay period. So it is going to get $32 as I recall. So let's see here. 20, 10, and 2. Okay. Some of this actually needs to go back to kind of pay Mr. M back for some of his car maintenance stuff, because he ended up pulling more out of his account, even though we had money here for him to utilize. But that's okay. I technically should be doing an oil change, and I think I mentioned this last time, but I still have like roughly 1,100 miles before I hit the mileage marker for that. And like I said, since I hadn't been driving a lot, I'm going by the mileage. Now, of course, over the last few weeks, I have been doing quite a bit of driving. But even with that, I'm not super close to the mileage I need to do for the oil change. Typically, my oil changes are, $100-ish, usually a little bit lower. Of course, who knows? They may find something else that needs to be addressed. So having money in here, even if there's a little bit that needs to go to Mr. M to replenish his account will be good. So where are we? We are at 120, 40, 60, 70, 80, 95, 96, 97, 98. 198. Lovely. Oops, put that back behind there. It will be nice, once I do get my stuff done, to start seeing this bulk up a little bit more over time. Okay, Christmas is next. You wait your turn, clothing. And it is going to get $25. Okay. We are at 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 150, 170, 190, 210, 230, 5, 40, 5, 50, $250. Very, very nice to see this creeping up towards our ultimate goal. We're definitely on track. Oops. Did I just put that? Yeah. There we go. All right. Clothing is, in fact, next. And it gets $10. And that puts us at $10, $20, $31. Okay. Excuse me. Here we go. I will say the cats and the dogs are all away. The cats have their own bedroom that they hang out in, so they have a safe place and they're not harassed by the dogs. The dogs hang out in our TV computer area in the downstairs, and it's time for them to be in bed, so they should be settled and quiet. Usually when the dogs are in, once it's nighttime, we let the cats have the run of the house except for the dog area. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, we end up hearing the sounds of a disgruntled cat or two because they feel that they should be out and about at this point, because it is late. My shift is over and all of that. So Costco is next. However, though we normally would give it $100, Mr. M kind of jumped the gun and went shopping a wee bit early. So he ended up using the card, and actually I think we're going to be using the card going forward. It seems like using cash at Costco is a little bit of a hassle. If you want to do the self-checkout, you cannot use cash at all. And every single time we have gone just through the regular line, inevitably we need change. And apparently, at least the people that we've had, ringing up our stuff, they never have a cash drawer. So they always have to go wander and find somebody to get, the 5 cents or 12 cents that we're supposed to get back. So at this point, we are just going to make the purchases with our debit card and then pay ourselves back. So in this case, when Mr. M went and we didn't actually have the cash, in the envelope, it wasn't a huge deal because it was coming. But what I ended up doing was just leaving the amount that was spent in the bank, and what was left over, which is $10, is what we are going to be stuffing. So we have $20, $40, $50, $60 here. And I'm always very gratified when we have money left over for Costco, because it can be very expensive, and we're obviously limiting ourselves to, a maximum of $100 every shopping trip. So if we don't spend all that, it just makes it a little bit easier if we find something that we need and would create an overrun in a new month. So let's see, Costco is done. Dining out and entertainment. Look at how empty these are. Those do not get funded, but the fun category does, and it gets $20, $40, $60. And, we've been utilizing this. We've actually been utilizing this a little bit more than I thought we would. Not attaching any issue to that. I was just a little surprised that we have used it as much as we had. I'm glad we are using it because that's what it's there for. And we had spent quite a bit of time over the last year and a half previously, kind of not doing anything. So I'm glad we are taking advantage. Now that I am working this part-time job, excuse me, and my afternoons / evenings are, kind of off limits, I think we're forced to do most of our stuff on the Saturday that Mr. M is off. And we had hoped that we would have more opportunities to do stuff during like the early afternoon, but just because of how the training process is going. There is another trainee at the place that I'm working. It was determined that it would be easier for my trainer to kind of spread herself out amongst the people that she has to assist if I would work a little bit earlier. And I was totally fine with that. So I had been going at least for the last week and a half, maybe a little less than a week and a half. And getting there so I could start at 4:30 instead of 7, which huge boon because it meant at least for the first part of my trip home, there was waning light, with sunset and everything. I did end up coming home in the dark ultimately, but much of the drive, it was at least a little bit gray as the light was diminishing. Now, that said, I have officially started working from home. And in fact, today was my first day working from home. I am so happy that I do not have to be in that car anymore. Oh my goodness. I know I'm deviating. It's going to be a long video. I'm sorry. But I got to tell you, I am not someone who really swears as a general rule. If I feel the urge to use an expletive, it's usually a modified one, a shoot, darn, dang it, or even something more, creative, shooby-doops, Mother Hubbard, something along those lines. When I was in kindergarten, no, I think it was first grade. When I was in first grade, I brought home the big daddy of bad words. According to my mother, I used it properly in a sentence. She asked me where I learned that, and I told her that I learned it from a kid at school, and she promptly washed my mouth out with soap. I do not like the taste of soap, and that was a core memory. I totally took that to heart, and from then on, I did not swear. And I was pretty militant about not swearing, and having the people around me not swear all the way up into high school. So if my sisters were using foul language, they would get whapped with a pencil. So, yeah. So it's not that I necessarily mind other people swearing. It's just a thing that I don't tend to do. However, there are 3 things that will have me swearing. First and foremost is if I hurt myself. If I hurt myself, all bets are off. The words coming out of my mouth are not going to be fit for young children and animals. If I am incredibly frustrated, so usually if I'm playing like a video game, I'm not like those guys that take the controller and throw it. No, I will doggedly try and get the game to, do what I'm supposed to. But boy, so sometimes the words coming out of my mouth, again, not great. And last, which is very similar to the frustration, is when I'm driving. I'm not proud of it, but there are so many commuters out there who I have said the most horrible things to. But on my own behalf, I am only saying them because they're being the biggest jerky jerks out there, not following the rules of the road, being entitled, not driving safely. So, yeah. Those are the 3 situations, and goodness gracious, while I've been commuting these last few weeks, it's been an experience. So anyway, let's see, now that I've gotten off topic, what we have left in the fun category after we've added our money. We got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 200, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 65, 70. $270. Okay. All right. So now you know. Don't drive around me and be acting like a nincompoop, or else You will have a worse name attached to you in my mind. All right, next is Garden and Yard, which is going to get $30. And my goodness, again, as soon as we are filling this, we are emptying it. We had to get a new gas can just recently for the lawnmower. And Mr. M wanted a larger one, a 5-gallon one, I think it was. And like everything else, it was not necessarily the cheapest thing out there. So $30 for Garden and Yard. Gas gets $100, so $50, $100. I really am not fond of broken bills, but they spend just as well as any others, so. All right. Gifts gets $5. So, whoa, only 5 gifts. Don't be greedy. We got $5, $10, $15, $20, $25. Okay. Awesome. Giving, we do not do this pay period. Groceries gets $200. So 1, 2. Health is going to normally get 15, but it gets also the extra, so it's going to get an additional 32. So we'll do the 15 first, and then 32. 1, 2. All right. Oh, well, let's get the rest of the money out before I get too discombobulated. And 5 and 10s and 20. There we go. So that puts us at 150, 70, 90, 200, 10, 20, 35, 42. $242. All right. Okay, get in there. All right, then we have household, which, like health, also gets its own normal thing plus $32. It usually gets 30. So we'll do that first, and then the 32. I'm going to try and be organized, or more organized. That's probably the actual correct way to say that. Alrighty, so what are we working with here? We've got 20s and 10s, and then 1s at the back. Okay, so we've got 100, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 200, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $206. Right. Got everything all over the place here. All right, come on. That's as tidy as that's going to get for it. Okay. License and fees, it gets $11. So let's see where that puts us. Oops. We are at 150, 60, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 174. So we have just about 3 more pay periods that we will be funding this, and then we will shift where that $11 ends up going. Okay, miscellaneous. So miscellaneous is empty. It had that $10 in there that I couldn't figure out where the heck it came from. And a couple of very smart viewers picked up on the fact that I had incorrectly calculated my initial dollar amount need. I was over by 10, so of course I ended up taking 10, taking the money out, and there was actually no place for that $10 to go. We had some other things to put into the bank, and so I just put that $10 into the bank at that time. So I'm glad that that was figured out, because it was going to drive me crazy if it hadn't been. Oh boy. So sometimes I think I hurry a little too much. And I do think adding in the extra from the previous pay period can sometimes skew my count a little bit. And if I'm not being careful, then we get overage issues. Okay. Or we could have an underage issue too. Pets gets $125. And then it's also going to get $32. Okay. And so now we're going to just have this mess of dollars here. So let's see. Put that there. Get the 20s together. The 10. Get our 5, and then the ones. Excellent. So we've got 100, 200, 300, 20, 40, 50, 60, 75, 85, 90, 1, 2, 3. I did say 200, 393. Oh, goodness. Yeah, 393. Okay. 390. Goodness gracious. Oh, you can see/hear the slowing down of my brain as it gets later and later. Oh my word. But this is a nice amount to have. We just recently got our Chewy order with all the food for all of these crazy kids. So still being at, close to $400, not too shabby. Prime is next, and it gets $12. So we are at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60. Not quite halfway there. Next month should be the halvesy point. And then last but not least is taxes. And I will be very transparent. We have had some sales on Etsy, but I have not recently looked at my spreadsheet chart to see where we are in how I'm calculating what I'm expecting the tax ramification to be. So I am not sure if we are, right on track, basically equal, if the owing amount for taxes, because we do also include the cost for the tax software and filing in that number, is higher. So we still have a lot to build up to, or if we're over. I would be really surprised if we were over, though. Where we are at is 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 70. Why am I going backwards? 90, 200. 120, 40, 60, 80, 90, 200. Yeah. Oy vey. Like I said, the brain, it is shutting down. Luckily, we're pretty close to the end here. All right, so that is the last of the cash envelopes that we are stuffing. Well, I don't need to do anything with that. Garden. We did go to the store and we got some more soil. I think because I want to do some potatoes, we're probably going to need to pick up a couple more bags, which is fine. But we also purchased some flowers and we did get some peppers, an artichoke. What else did I get? A zucchini, because the zucchini that I planted out, it just disintegrated. The seed did, so that was fantastic. What else did we get? Some basil. Last year we grew our own basil. We started it from seed and it did very, very, very well. And we weren't going to do basil simply because it did do so well this year. But then Mr. M suggested, since we had room in our green stocks, why not get some basil to put in there rather than putting it into the raised bed. So I was like, hey, that sounds great. I still have, I want to say, about 6 or 7 pockets that are available to put stuff in. I'm not 100% sure what I want to use in there. Maybe some flowers, some more flowers. I did purchase, like I said, some flowers this last trip, but maybe something else. We might just plop some more beans in there, since I really do want to have a good bean harvest. But yeah, I'll have to kind of see. I guess we could do lettuce to help with that succession planting, not planning. The lettuce that we do have, especially in the round bed, if you saw the garden tour, is beautiful. So is Mr. M's cabbage. It is just gorgeous, and the cabbage moths are taking notice. So I told him, you need to keep an eye on that. This is your your plant, so I'm not going to be the only one caring for it. I also noticed that we had our first incident of a furry raider. I am assuming it was a squirrel, though I suppose it could have been a bird. But somebody got into one of our early strawberries, and from what was left of the berry, it looked like it was delicious. So I was a little irritated about that. We might have to go and put a cover over the green stalk, because our strawberries are coming in. I did try one the other day and it wasn't quite ready. But they're starting to look like beautiful ruby jewels. And so I'm very much looking forward to having those throughout the season. And hopefully, like last year, we will have, just a nice, like every few days, handful, 5 to 7 that are ready to harvest. And then I think it tends to die down when we get into the heat of summer. So late July, early August. And then as things start to cool down again, we tend to get another rush in September. I think the last strawberry we ended up harvesting last year was either in November or December. So they tend to do very well for us, at least in the last couple of years that we've had them. So I'm looking forward to that. The blueberries are looking great. And I tend to ignore our honeyberry bushes because, they were a whim purchase. We put them in, and in the past, the berries have been okay. They're supposed to be like a something similar to a blueberry, but they're very much not blueberry-esque. The color, you know, a little bit, but even the texture, the taste, it's not a blueberry. And so, yeah, I've been on those, but I was over checking on the raspberries to see how they were looking, and they're looking pretty good. I don't know how long it'll be before we start to see flowers, but I noticed that there were a whole bunch of little purple berries on the two bushes, so I grabbed up some. I didn't have a whole lot of time to, you know, hunt everything down, but I grabbed up some and they were okay. Don't necessarily love them, but don't necessarily hate them either. I'll have to figure out some way to use them besides just fresh eating. They're supposed to be really, really good vitamin C and antioxidants, just like blueberries. But they have at least to me, a tart taste, which I don't mind, but I don't know, it's just like a little bit of like a grassy taste to me. So, we'll see. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, it's going to be a long video, y'all. Yard cleanup. Okay, so let's get this up to date. And what are we working on here? We'll do this color first. So, we have 126 that went to yard cleanup from the end of the previous pay period. And I believe if we add all of these up, I don't believe, I know, because I know that ahead of time. If we add all these up, it comes to $2,352. So if we add the 126, that puts us at $2,478. And we do have an auto payment that is expected to go through on the 23rd. All right. A little wackadoodle here. And that will be $100, and that will put us over our initial goal amount of $2,500 by $78. Again, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the last couple of videos. For now, while we start the process of getting companies to give us bids on how much it's going to cost to get what we want done in that back area, we will continue to put money into this bucket. If we are able to find somebody to meet our needs and it ends up being under the $2,500, then anything over that we will then just switch over to whatever new long-term goal we decide to pursue, and that's what we'll leave it at for right now. Okay, so we are so close to meeting that $2,500. We are just what, $22 off. So yeah, by the end of this pay period we will be there and more. All right. And then last but not least is our mortgage tracker. So I did a little bit of, let's see, let's zoom in. Nope, let's zoom in a little bit more. I did a little bit of pre-prep here. When we did the recap, I mentioned that we are now at $230,498.20. That's because of the $188 payment that we made to principal during that first pay period of May. And so our total reduction from our starting point that we have here is $1,180.75. So what I've decided is these are increments of $500. what I think I'm going to do, and hopefully I can make it work as numbers eventually get bigger, is we are going to just track that dollar amount. And actually, let me get this, since my plan is to do a running total of how much we've reduced the mortgage balance, whether that's just by actual payments or the reduction of interest as well. You know, to me, it doesn't really matter why it's going down, just that it's going down. We will track it here. So this box represents $1,000 in reduction so far. And then when we end up doing this one, it'll be because we have hit the $1,500, and I will put $1,500 in there. I wish that there was a way that I could just note or figure out a way to note the actual total of what the mortgage is, but these boxes are way too small, and that would probably be very annoying to try and write as teeny tiny as I would need to. So that's kind of the plan that I've got right now for how we're going to track this going forward. We will need to meet the $500 in full in order to fill in the box. I mentioned during the last time I wasn't super in love with the idea of trying to do halvesies or partials, and so we're throwing that out the door. It'll just be easier if we hit a full $500 milestone, then we will fill it in, and we will just wait until we hit the next milestone before we move on. So that is the plan. That's where we're at. Slow but steady. We're getting close to being able to get our first row done, so that I think is amazing, and I'm very happy with our progress and with our plan on how to kind of visualize that progress that is being made. All right, so that is that. We can zoom back out just a smidge. We'll see whether we'll get to do another box during the pay period, or the cash stuffing for the first pay period of June, because that would then take into account any payments, standard payments and extra payments to principal that we do during this pay period or at the end of this pay period. So, all righty. Well, that is a lot. We're almost at 45 minutes. I am hungry. But I am very, very glad to have you guys here watching. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, just want to say hi, have a message for that pesky little Percy of ours, please note those down below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I do hope we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.